Sounding more articulate when you speak comes down to a lot of factors: the words that you use, pronunciation, your speed, short sentences, and one thought at a time. And when done in the right way, all of these factors can help you sound more articulate. But if you really want to shine and impress with your speaking ability, it's critical that you learn certain phrases to grab people's attention and keep them interested in what you're saying. In this video, I'm going to share with you one specific phrase that if you use and incorporate in your communication, it will help you sound more articulate and compelling. If that sounds interesting to you, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the future, and let's get straight into it. The phrase that I'm going to share with you in this video is one that I picked up watching interviews of a specific business person. Watching interviews and drawing phrases or even words from what people say and what they use is a strategy that I share in another YouTube video, How I Learned to Speak with More Clarity. I'll put the link in the description below so you can save it to your watch later list and watch it after this one. Now, the topic this person was talking about was finance. Finance is a pretty dry topic, but the phrase he used throughout the interview really made certain things that he would say stand out and helped him sound a lot more articulate, in my opinion anyway. I will share with you in a moment what this exact phrase is, but first I want to go through when you should use it. This phrase can be used in a couple of different scenarios. So the first scenario is when somebody has said something interesting that you would like to comment on or expand on. For example, you and a colleague are talking about the generational shift that is happening in the world of work today, and you want to add that millennials currently make up for the largest population in the workforce today and are set to make up 75% of the working population by 2025. Because you are adding new information to the conversation, you would use this phrase that I'm going to teach you in a moment in this video. The second scenario in which you would use this phrase is when you are speaking and you would like to pull a new key point into what you are saying. You would like to add it to the conversation. For example, you're talking with your colleagues about the importance of feedback in the workplace, and you want to add in an additional point to what you've been saying. So you would use a phrase that I'm going to teach you in a moment, and then you would add on your additional point, which could be, millennials value feedback and they prefer workplaces that give them regular feedback. Whether it's when you want to expand on what someone else is saying or when you want to add on to something you have said in the conversation, this phrase is extremely helpful. Now, let's take a look and see what this phrase is. So the STEM phrase that I'm going to teach you is it's worth. And being a STEM phrase, it means there are a number of variations of this phrase that you can use depending on what you want to say and how you want to come across. There are 3 variations we're going to look at in this video. It's worth adding, it's worth noting, it's worth reflecting on. Let's look at the first variation, it's worth noting. And I'm going to follow up on the previous example I used before when you and a colleague are talking about the generational shift that is happening in the world of work today. You would like to add in and highlight your thoughts, your additional thoughts on what other people are saying in the conversation. So you would start with a phrase and then you would add in your additional thoughts. For example, it's worth noting that millennials make up for the largest population in the workforce today and are set to make up for 75% of the working population by 2025. So did you see how I used this phrase? I started with it's worth noting and then I continued on with my additional point. The second variation uses it's worth adding, and we're going to follow on from the example we have already used in this video about the importance of feedback and giving feedback in the workplace. So during this conversation, an important key point comes to your mind and you want to contribute that to the conversation. You would say, it's worth adding that millennials value feedback and they actually prefer workplaces that give them regular feedback. Do you see how I use this phrase again? So you start with it's worth adding, then you continue on with your key point. The third variation is it's worth reflecting on. And for this one, I'm going to introduce a new example into this video. You and your colleagues are in a conversation and you're talking about how cumbersome and difficult it is to learn new software programs that you need to use for work, like Slack, like Zoom, like Google Docs, and things like that. You have an additional key point that comes to mind and you want to add that into the conversation. So using this phrase, it's worth reflecting on, this is how you do it. I think it's worth reflecting on that while software takes time to learn, it has helped us to be a lot more productive when working remotely. And just like that, you have successfully added a new point into the conversation in a way that makes you sound a lot more articulate and a lot more compelling when you speak. I challenge you to use It's Worth or one of the variations that I taught you in this video this week when you're at work and see how it impacts and see how it changes the way that you communicate. So to quickly review, the 3 variations that I shared with you in this video are it's worth noting, it's worth adding, it's worth reflecting on. And remember, you can use these when you want to add something to what someone else has said in a conversation or when you want to add on to what you have already said in that conversation. This phrase is one of my favorite ones to use. I've already started to incorporate it in my communication when I speak to people. I have already started to use it in some of my YouTube videos. You may notice some YouTube videos when I use the phrase it's worth. If you do notice it and if you've watched this video, let me know in the comments that you've picked it up. Using intelligent, sophisticated phrases is a very effective way to elevate your communication. You really only need 2 or 3 go-to phrases in your mental dictionary to pull from and use when you communicate. In this video, I shared with you 1 phrase, but in this video over here, I share with you 3 more phrases that you can incorporate and use when you communicate to sound more articulate. Jump over to this video now or save it to your watch later list on YouTube. It's a quick video, but I know that you'll get a lot from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week in another video.